Hello, everybody. I think I'm live. Should be live. Maybe I'm not live. So, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Just sort of hanging out, enjoying a Sunday afternoon. I got a nice beverage, a little root beer, and a Captain Kirk glass. How is your day going? How has your week been? Hope it's been awesome. Mine has been still mildly stressful just from work. But again, it's not like really bad stress. It's just, man, stuff you got to do. Like sometimes you get some easy periods and sometimes you get some really hard, busy periods. And you live with it. So anyways, but I hope everybody's had a good time. Hope they're having a good day. And I'm hoping I'll see something pop up from my wife in the chat to tell me that I am actually live. Any rate, okay. Well, let's just pretend I am one way or the other, and we'll go from there. I could kind of look on my phone. Maybe my phone will tell me something. Oh, yeah, it says live. Cool. Okay. Oh, there she is. All right. Anyhow, so what are we going to talk about today? What are some things to chat about? Well, for the first time in about 5 or 6 years, I actually went to the movies. And I actually saw something that wasn't, more than 50 years old. I went and watched The Day the Earth Blew Up, new Looney Tunes movie done by Ketchup, apparently last year, but it's getting like a theatrical release right now in the United States. And it's 2D animation. I'm not a fan of 3D sort of everything looks like a squeak toy animation. Yeah, even the Pixar stuff, I'm just not that into. So I thought, well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is and actually go and see this thing and give it a little bit of a shot at success. Went with my wife and had some popcorn and some soda pop. And I am generally predisposed to not like current day movies. They just don't do much for me. And I'm really picky when it comes to animation and taking Looney Tune characters and putting them full length feature. I'm not always super into. So I kind of went in this one with a little trepidation, but I thought, well, I might like it. Who knows? And I was very happy to say when it was over that I actually liked it. I think they did a real nice job with it. The animation looks great. Music was great. There were a couple songs in it, older songs, so I actually knew them. One of them just struck me funny the moment it came on because I wasn't ready for it. The voice work was pretty good. It's not no blank. So if you're an old timer, of course the characters don't sound exactly right, but they did a good job with them. One thing I really dug was, well, first of all, man, there's like no current day in it really at all. It is just an entertaining movie. It's a lot of laughs. The plot is goofy, but it's supposed to be goofy. There's a few little bits in there for grown-ups that, the kids probably aren't going to quite get it, but we will. And that ties into the other thing that I really liked about it, which is it is very much drawn from 30s, 40s, Bob Clampett, Tex Avery, Frank Tashlin cartoons, especially their take on Daffy. This is where he was Daffy, where he's jumping around, making weird noises, going absolutely nuts. It is not the later Chuck Jones Daffy who's, being bested by Bugs Bunny and is a super egotist and all that stuff. And I dig that one too. But this is early. This is classic Daffy. You get references to Gabby Goat and Beans, which are like even pre-Daffy Duck characters, really go back in Porky history. And that was the other thing I like. It wasn't a lot of key jangling. You don't have cameos from all the other characters. You get Porky, you get Daffy, you get Petunia Pig, who granted wasn't, actually, I don't know. She might have been in some old cartoon, but I mostly remember her from later. They kind of resurrected her, I think, in the 60s, to have like another female character in the bunch. But it's those three characters. The design on the human beings in it really fits with the old Warner Brothers cartoons. There's a little bit of Ren and Stimpy in it. But when you consider John Kricfalusi was a mega fan of Bob Clampett, and this thing is aiming at Bob Clampett, kind of makes sense. And so if you really are into cartoons, there's a lot of little things like that you'll get, I think you'll appreciate, but you don't have to. It's not like it's just a bunch of references that only hardcore geeks are going to get. I laughed at this thing. I had some good laughs out of it. I walked out very happy. I don't know how long it's going to be in the theaters. I think it made about $3 million for its opening, weekend, which, is not colossal, sadly, but it's gotten basically no advertising. I think they had to buy it off of Warner Brothers to even be able to release it, which is insane. I don't want to go down this path real far, but the executive malpractice at Disney, at Warner Brothers, at seemingly every single major corporation on planet Earth at the moment is stunning. The lack of common sense. These people are so short-sighted, so greedy, and so desperate to think outside the box that they cheat themselves probably out of millions or billions of dollars every freaking year. This thing, with a little bit of marketing, spring break. I mean, at least we're starting spring break. Spring, for some people, it is bake, right? Spring break in Vegas right now. A little bit of marketing. You probably get a bunch of parents to go to this with their kids, and the parents might have as much fun with this goofy thing as the kids do. So anyways, thumbs up for The Day the Earth Blew Up. I think on Critic List, I gave it like a 90%. I think that's about right. And it sounds like it's getting good reviews from audience and from critics, like on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, which, doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I think a movie that can get good reviews from both sides probably has something to it. So if you're looking for something to do, man, we had, I think, total of 7 people in our theater. I've heard other people go and it was kind of full. So it probably depends on when you're going, where you're going. We were going yesterday. What was it? Was it a 1:30 show? It was like a matinee. But yeah, my wife's saying she didn't know it existed and you know what? I didn't know it existed until it popped up in my feed on X. And people are saying, go watch it, go support 2D animation and hand-drawn. A lot of it's hand-drawn. These guys put a lot of love and passion into this cartoon. Go check it out. Look, it's not world-shattering. It's not life-changing. It's a solid, entertaining movie without politics, without any bullshit. Just some funny gags, nicely animated. Like I said, the music, the score is really good. Really good. And it's such a love letter to that late 30s, 40s period at Warner Brothers. Some of the stuff you're going, they had to do like their research, or they were just fans already. Really rad stuff. So I give it a high recommendation to go check that one out. And again, first movie I've actually gone and seen in a theater in like 6 years. I figured it was worth it. And it was worth it. Okay. So there we go. There's my first big review of something new. Second up, I got delivered to me from Rippaverse, The Great War of Separation. I'll take that down because there we go. There's the actual book. So I got this a couple days ago. They're getting quick on the delivery. I will tell you that. In fact, you know what? They got so much stuff coming out now that I'm looking at their site for an image I could use. And honestly, I'm like, Yaira 2. Wait, did I order Yaira? I had to check because they're rolling out at such a rate nowadays. But this is a cool comic. A lot of work here from Chuck Dixon, but it takes an idea that Eric had early on about, their version of the world has a United States that has split up. And why not show the map? And I know you probably can't see it super well here, but you have, at this point, the United States in, the eastern U.S., part of the upper Midwest, and Texas and Oklahoma. You have something called Bromhouse taking up most of the western United States into like the Dakotas, the Mid-Southern Alliance. You got Greater Florida. Well, this is about, and of course, Mexico and Canada. This one is about Texas. And what happens with Texas sort of seceding from the Union. Now, this is number 1, so it's part of a series. Doesn't tell you the whole story. And my thought was, is this about like Texas seceding from the United States? Like this is what broke things up. Well, no, because they mention in it that there's already been a secession from the United States at this point. And the U.S. president doesn't want it to happen again. And it all comes down to a flashpoint on the border with a drug cartel. That's what gets it going. And it leads to one thing and one thing. Okay, so, but what you're also getting in this is you're seeing Isom when he was still a kid and his family. You're seeing Brian Solari from Alpha Core, who was already an adult at that point, but not yet, who he will become. So it's kind of you get some background on the characters, background on the world. And at this point, it's explaining events going on, and you're realizing there's a lot more to figure out. So I don't know how many issues they're going to do on this one. But it's cool. It's really well illustrated. Because a lot of what's going on in it, it's basically not superhero stuff at this point. Even though obviously the excepts exist at this point, but you're not getting a lot of it. You get a little bit of it, but not a lot of it. So rather than a lot of superhero action, you're seeing some military action. But you're also getting just normal people doing normal things and well illustrated. So that's something I dig, because a lot of times in comics, especially nowadays, where it can be a little bit posy, it can be a little pin-uppy on a lot of stuff. And when they have to do just a simple panel of 2 characters talking, real boring, not dynamic. You look at the old books, and I think it's because these dudes worked on war comics, romance comics, horror comics, action adventure comics, humor. They worked on everything. They were able to take basic panels, stuff that should be boring, and make them dynamic and make them interesting. Something some modern, even really good modern artists sometimes are a little lax at. But this is Jack Herbert. The name on there, Jack Herbert. He does a nice job with it. So there's a lot of cool stuff in this book. I'm not going to show off a lot of it. I mean, just like, you know, it's a nice shot, and it's well illustrated. This is one of the prettiest looking ones they've done. So looking forward to more of the Great War of Separation. And that was something I wondered about early on, because I'm going, how much does this separate this world from ours to the point that it's going to become distracting? Because I think a lot of what makes, superhero books work is the way we can kind of connect ourselves to them. Like, well, Marvel Universe, right? Everything's in New York City, which if you were from New York City is kind of cool, because it's like, imagine if this stuff is happening right outside your window. It's your world and superheroes have come into it. So when you go for a dramatically different world, and this is maybe not dramatically different, but it's a little different. Is that going to be an issue? Am I going to be so swept up in the alternate history that I'm not getting as much superhero-y stuff as I want? No, I think this is pretty damn good. It introduces some new characters, but just introduces them that we're going to be seeing more of, obviously, like in the subsequent issues. So there's a lot there to sort of bait you, kind of like, oh, what's coming? Check it out. So I liked it. I will definitely keep up with this particular series. So there you go. 2 reviews of things I liked. Don't ever say that I am super negative on my channel, because I am not. So Lilo and Stitch, they just put a trailer out for this live action one. I got no dog in this fight. I watched Lilo and Stitch, the animated version, when I had a little kid, and it was funny. It was a good flick, again, it didn't like change my life or anything, but it was pretty solid. I don't care that they're making a new live action version. Honestly, I'm not going to go see it, whatever. But here's what I thought was interesting. To me, anyways. I talked to my daughter about it. She's in her 20s now. I said, oh, they released the trailer for the Lilo and Stitch. And she gets a look on her face. And I go, no, I mean, it looked pretty good. It looked actually pretty close to the cartoon. I mean, And she's like, yeah, I don't think they should be remaking it. And I'm like, okay. I mean, yeah, to some degree, she's her father and mother's daughter. But I thought it was an interesting reaction of just like, you know what? If she's probably kind of on the cusp of millennial and Zoomer, but we'll call her a Zoomer. I don't know. I think now using Zillennial or something. We need to stop naming generations. But if that cadre is going, oh, stop remaking stuff, that's not a great sign. That's not a great sign for these studios moving forward. Now, I think the Lilo and Stitch thing will probably do pretty well in the theaters, because it did actually at least look pretty good. It looked like they were trying as much as possible to stick to the animation. Although for me, it's like, what if you just re-release the animation, right? Nice restoration. Disney used to do this all the time. I think it was every 7 years. I could be getting that wrong. My wife's in the chat, so she'll probably correct me, because she probably remember. About every 7 years, they would re-release, one of these films into the theaters. So when I was in my 20s and getting into animation, Snow White, Cinderella, I believe Sleeping Beauty, which is such a gorgeous movie. I don't know if I saw Dumbo or not. I might have. But actually, when I was a little kid, we went and saw 101 Dalmatians. We went and saw the Aristocats. And I thought those were new, but they weren't. They were from a few years earlier, and they were being re-released. I didn't know. I was like, 6 or 7 years old or something. That's how they kept their catalog current, because their movies really are, for the most part, pretty timeless. They can appeal to pretty much everybody. I was like, okay, it was 7 years. That's what my wife says, so we'll assume that's right. So instead of these remakes, what if you re-released the animation? Restore it. It'd be cheaper. And you know what? If you still were able to do it with the kind of fanfare and marketing Disney was capable of in the past, they do pretty darn good. And you got a generation of millennials and, you know, the older Zoomers who would probably love to go see actual Little Mermaid in a theater, actual Beauty and the Beast in a theater. Maybe they're doing little re-releases. I don't know, because you do get re-releases now that sometimes you don't hear about. But I mean, it used to be like a big deal. So like in any given year, you'd get a re-release of a classic and you'd have a new Disney movie, you know, going into the theaters, and it kept it vital. And it kept the bridge across generations. It's one of the beautiful things about Disney was that 2 or 3 generations of people could have that experience of seeing that movie for the first time on the big screen. So it wasn't like an old movie. It was new to you, and it was amazing and beautiful and something people could talk about and agree about. Anyways, kind of sad, but I thought it was funny that she's like over that stuff. But you know what? Her generation has already seen a horrible live action version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Saw a crappy version of Kim Possible, you know, and almost a really crappy version of the Powerpuff Girls. That was floating around just recently. That looked bad. And I'm laughing. I'm going, yeah, see, it's not just my generation stuff that's getting ruined by these people. They're screwing up stuff that's only like 10 to 20 years old at this point. How did they lose the ability to make something decent in that short a span of time? It is unbelievable. Hollywood is so screwed. Bad executives. If there's good creatives, they're not being allowed to create, or they're having to go indie. God bless indie, but I don't know, man. Like, they're in a bad place. And I don't think they even really totally understand it. And I think that's partly because the executives, profoundly untalented people, bad at their jobs. They're not smart enough to know that they're failing. All they have to do is look at the friggin' returns on some of this stuff. They'd know they were failing. Crazy stuff. And speaking of, State Farm commercial, right? People are talking about this with Justin Bateman as Bateman. The commercial itself is fine, but people are going, how do these dudes manage to get the Batman villains right when big time Hollywood productions so often get them wrong, do them poorly? This is a picture of some of those villains. There was also Catwoman in there, but this is Abby May as Poison Ivy, Josh Meyer as the Riddler, Andrew Tippy as Two-Face, and Josh Harp as the Joker. And there's a closer up picture of Harp as the Joker. And this is something that's bugged me too. Like, you look at a lot of the big budget things and the costumes they give these characters, and then you look at individual who put something together to cosplay, and I'm talking not casual, but like the real deal. And you're going, how is it the cosplayers get more comic accurate costumes produced and look good in them than Hollywood studios can do? I don't know, but here's a commercial doing it too. And you know what? It's because it's a commercial. You don't have executives breathing down your neck. You probably don't have mega artsy people doing stuff. What happens with a lot of these is you get somebody in charge who loves this stuff. And they're like, oh my God, I get to design the costumes for all these Batman characters. This is going to be rad. And they do a better job because they're actually allowed to do their job and given the freedom to do it well. That's about it. I mean, the Batman still was like the all black Batman suit, which you get from the movies. And I think it's supposed to tie in somewhat to the flicks with Pattinson in them, but kind of crazy. The talent is out there. I was just watching some of those, what do they call it? Where they take new songs and they restage them in old styles. Something jukebox. Mid-century jukebox? No. I can't remember now what the thing is. It's on YouTube. I'm watching a couple of them and I'm going, God, these singers can sing. They can sing. And then you look at what's like top of the charts and you go, what is going on? This singer, these musicians behind them are phenomenally talented. And they don't get any airplay. It's the saddest thing in the world. But look, go indie, boys and girls. Support these people that actually have some real honest to God talent and are making things that they love. Give them some support so we can at least preserve some of these art forms. It's the same as like with that Looney Tunes movie, 2D hand-drawn animation. Support it, man. Support it. Because at some point, it goes away. The ability to do some of this stuff just goes away. All right. Next on the docket, some new releases, some new campaigns that caught my eye over the last week. I keep thinking, my initial idea was like, I'll do a podcast every couple weeks. I'll probably have enough material. I keep finding all these things over the course of a week. And sometimes like it looks pretty light. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 a whole bunch of stuff comes up. Boss Fight Studio doing a new wave of Popeye figures. I have a review of, I think it was a Wave 2 Popeye figure on my site. It's actually doing really well. It's still getting a lot of views, which for me, believe me, I mean, you look at the numbers, you go, that's not a lot of views, son. I'm sorry. Okay, it's a lot of views for me. I got a weird little channel here. But it's still getting some views. Gotten like 3 subscribers off of that video. And good looking figure. Couldn't really put the spinach can in his hand. That's not the end of the world, but good looking figures. So now we got Wave 3. And these are like on pre-order, I think. Well, it says arriving in March, which we're in March. So I think it's still technically pre-order. Will just pretty soon be order. $35 a pop. And I do recall that Popeye that I got that I reviewed, it had been out for a while before I bought it. I got it at a discount because 35 was a little steep for me, but it's a good looking figure. So what we have with Wave 3 is a comic strip accurate Popeye. And we have him, in the dark uniform and we have him in the white. And that is a pretty good representation of what he looked like in his first appearance in the comic strips. As you might know or might not know, my chair is squeaking. It's driving me up a wall. That Popeye did not start off as a comic strip called Popeye. It was Thimble Theater, and it was about Olive Oyl and the Oyl family. And it was about, so specifically her brother, Castor Oyl. And Castor Oyl has a friend named Ham Gravy. And those 3 were like the central characters. Because Ham, I think, was sweet on Olive Oyl and vice versa. And this is when comic strips, man, could take like a whole page of a newspaper. They were pretty rad. It's a whole different world. It's almost more like a hybrid of comic book and comic strip. When you think about how we look at the two things now, because now a comic strip is like 3 panels that nobody hardly ever sees anymore because people don't get newspapers. Comic books are long form. It was kind of in between. And they're doing this storyline where like Ham and Castor find a treasure map. So they're going to go hunting for this treasure. So they go to the waterfront to hire a boat, and they run into this sailor who was based on somebody that the creator, Seagar, knew in real life. There was kind of a real life Popeye. And Popeye takes off, and Popeye ends up really becoming the star of the comic strip, and it becomes really all about him. So we get those two. We get a Goon. And that's the one I'm tempted on. I like the comic accurate Popeye. I think it's really cool. But the Goon, I love the Goons. I'm real tempted on that one. And we get a character named Tor, Toar. A real nice looking fella. You notice the fangs. And we get Roughhouse the Cook. So basically some comic strip Popeye characters in this wave. They look good. Now, I think those might be renderings, so we'll have to see what the actual figures look like. They should be out soon. But I dig them. I think they look great, and I'm a big fan of Popeye and Fleischer and all that stuff. Great Mazinger. And this is, okay, look, if Japan is about anything, it's about really long titles. Amazing Yamaguchi Revoltech NR080 Great Mazinger. On pre-order, I think it's supposed to deliver in January of 2026. $99, which is probably pretty good. It looks pretty rad. I don't know a ton about it, but I saw it pop up on X. Give me just a moment. What the old whistle. So I had to put it up here because I'm a big fan, and my camera angle's not right. I got one of the Shogun Warriors back there, which was just a toy that I'd wanted my whole life, so I bought it as an adult. But at any rate, very cool. Go look for it. Size, well, I'm not sure. I should have written it down, but I don't remember what the size was on this thing. I don't think it's not massive. It's not like Shogun Warrior sized. It's smaller than that, but it looks really, really cool. Mad Cave Studios, Volume 3, Flash Gordon Classics Collection. Coming out March 26, 2025. So right around the corner. $50, hardcover book, I believe. This is classic, Flash Gordon comic strips. Well worth reading if you've never read them before. Really awesome stuff. I don't know if this volume is Alex Raymond or if it's somebody who came after. I want to say it's somebody who came after. And if I could read my own screen really small, Sunday strips. So I want to say it's 41 to maybe 44. I got a few of these and I need to read them more. I got a bunch of Popeyes. I got Superman dailies. I got, what's his name? Rip something. And of course, Rip Taylor and Rip Torn are both in my head, and they didn't make comic strips about them. But they should have. Those would have been great. Any rate, $50. Comic strips are just they're different than comic books, and they're beautiful. And the stuff they managed to put out back in the day it's just like that you would get these in a newspaper just delivered every day or every Sunday. And these are some of the greatest comic artists who ever lived. It's just amazing what was just there. And it was just like taken for granted. It's unbelievable. Kickstarter launching soon. Elysian Fields Reborn. Just thought the art looked really cool on this. The idea is that some heroes who have died, who are in the Elysian Fields, are recruited for like this gladiatorial combat to determine the next lord of the underworld. And so Achilles, Hercules, and Hippolyta are representing Hades in his bid to retake the underworld. Interesting concept. The art looked really, really good from what I saw. So something you might want to take a look at. Obviously a fantasy type thing. This I thought was cool. Spider-Man panel by panel from Abrams Books. July 2025 is when this should be out. It's oversized panels. So I think each page is like a panel from the comic book. From Amazing Fantasy number 15 and Amazing Spider-Man number 1. $60. So it's got to be a pretty big book. I just thought that was really cool. If you're a Ditko fan, you got to check this thing out. I mean, you're going to get a hell of a look at that art. I mean, one of the things I love about the big Treasury edition size is that it just blows the art up and you get a better look at it. I mean, this is like going well beyond what those are doing. So Abrams Books, July 2025. I believe you can pre-order it now, right around $60. So you might want to check that one out. From the Rippaverse, Zalen, or Zalen, I would say maybe one or the other. Kind of a cosmic hero, maybe a little sci-fi, but what I'm thinking is Captain Marvel. I mean, the late 60s, 70s Captain Marvel from Marvel Comics, Marvel. That's the vibe that I'm getting. I think this is another Chuck Dixon one. Looks really cool. I got to say, I like the look of this character. The minute I saw him, I ordered it a couple days ago. 4 different covers, the normal kind of Rippaverse thing. Looks cool. Looks cool. There's a lot of new characters, and I worry sometimes, are there too many new characters and not enough follow-ups? I mean, we're getting to Isom number 3. We're getting Yaira number 2 at this point. I think Alpha Core number 2 is is coming along. But on the other hand, if it looks cool, it looks cool. So we'll see. The Art of Survival. This is pinup art from Josh Howard. Did T-Bird and Throttle, Dead at 17. He's done some other projects as well. Huge fan of T-Bird and Throttle. Amazing little bits of comic work there. He has that particular style, and he does draw, pinup style women. So this will probably be really good. One of those things that if I brought it into the house, I'd probably be in trouble with my wife. So, but it's on Indiegogo. I don't know if it's now that I say that, I'm not sure if it's actually funding yet, but go look at Indiegogo. You probably get a notice when it is live, but it might be live now. But anyway, dude does some gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous work, and he's a cool guy, and check it out. And if you never read T-Bird and Throttle, give that a look. All right, so this Dragon Lords from Kevin Lamb, described as an epic hex crawl, high adventure, compatible with old D&D, BX, and chainmail, coming soon. And he basically said something to the extent of, since we're never going to get something like this for Dragonlance, I'm doing it myself. But here's what really got me. Because, okay, you get supplements like this, and they're oftentimes great. I don't play a lot right now. I still love D&D, but I don't really get to play. I don't run anything at the moment. But, dude, some of the art, it's like this blacklight poster looking stuff. I was like, that's really rad. I need to keep track of this project and see where it goes. Because I just love that vibe. I love that look of the thing. I don't know who did the art. I don't know if it's even AI art for all I know. I haven't looked that deeply into it. I've just seen some images on posted on X. But I did notice this posted too. Old school combat chart. So it's definitely for like old school games. And so you might want to take a look. If you like old school, if you like Dragonlance, if you like blacklight posters of barbarian queens, you might want to check it out. I like the vibe. I like the attitude behind it. So something to check out. This popped up a day or two ago. La Muerta, Nemesis #1. Now, this is sort of part of that whole Coffin Comics universe, Lady Death. So a lot of stuff that was out when I wasn't collecting comics. So I'm not massively aware of all of it, but the cover was really cool. I thought the character looked really cool. I am a total noob about this stuff. $26 for the Premier Edition, plus digital, plus any unlocked free swag. You can pre-order on March 20th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I think it was 6 p.m. anyways. Well, March 20th, either way. Go over to Coffin Comics website. You can get alerted for the launch. I thought it was pretty cool looking, though. Again, it's one that I don't know much about, but I thought people might like to hear about it if they hadn't picked it up. Here's one I do know something about, though. Heroic Tales #2 from John Bua. John's Long Box on YouTube. Great channel. Dude interviews tons of people in comics, indie and otherwise. Does tons of live streams looking at comic books. He puts a lot of work into this stuff. And Heroic Tales #1, I really liked. And I backed it because I'm like, indie creator, dude's passionate about comic books. I'll back it. Why not? Who knows what I'm going to get? It was a beautiful looking comic book. Solid story. Very interesting character. And I was like, holy crap, this is actually really, really good. I can't wait for more. Well, more is definitely on the way. Launching April 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, I mean, look, you don't have to back it the very second it launches, but April 4th, I'll definitely be backing this one. It was great. Interesting character. Cool. Like, the character is called the Patriarch. So he's got a little white. He's got a little white in the beard, but sort of seems like a Superman kind of character from when you just look at him and the powers that he uses. But there's kind of an interesting trick behind those powers. If you've never read the first one, get it. You could probably get it when the second, I was going to say Kickstarter, but what it was, a campaign is launched. Well worth it. Good book. You should check it out. New Adventure Time figures. I saw this and I'm like, oh, my daughter might be interested. Finn and Jake. You buy the pair. Ooh, $135. They're arriving in October, but I mean, they do look great. Now, again, this is renderings, but I imagine they will look pretty much like this when they produce it. It's a weird cartoon. It's a really fun cartoon. It's a really imaginative cartoon. Yeah, I fell in love with parts of it, and other parts of it I would be going, where are they going with this? I'm not, should my kid be watching this? But it's generally pretty safe. Big D&D influence on it for sure. But anyways, we still quote some nonsense from Adventure Time. Especially sing the Bacon Pancake song. But you might want to check that out if you're big fans of them. I wonder, though, $135. Are these guys too early? Right? I mean, right now you're selling stuff like Thundercats, Mask, Masters of the Universe stuff for big money, right? But it's for a generation that are now in like their late 40s, early 50s. Which means a lot of us have a little more money we could play with. For a generation that's now in their 20s to maybe early 30s, $135 might be asking a little too much just to put a couple things up on a shelf. So I don't know. They might. I know that there's folks out there who will pay that kind of money for them. There's no doubt about it. But going, yeah, maybe in a decade, you'll sell a lot more at that kind of a price point. These might need to be at a lower price point at this point in time. We'll have to see. But I like that cartoon. I thought the figures were kind of cool. And I really was thinking about getting them until I saw the price. And that is coming from Gaia's 50s. So here's another comic campaign. Very spaghetti westerny looking. And I'm noticing how my shirt sleeve is matching with the black in that image. Pretty good. Anyways, it's called, I love the name. The name drew me in. 7 Amens Before Sundown. Sounds like a spaghetti western. It's on Fund My Comic right now. Gunslinger versus ghouls to save his wife. The art looks great. Go check it out on Fund My Comic. Get it for $25, which is about standard at this point for an indie book, in fundraising, obviously plus shipping. But the art looks really good. It looked pretty cool. I might back it. I might, not sure. My wife is telling me that our daughter's room can't take more collectibles, which is very, very, very true. And they ain't going to get those collectibles, not from dear old dad. Dude, I almost this is, okay. So I haunt the Goodwill auction site because you can get some cool vintage stuff there. And other people do too. So it's not like everything's a bargain, which is fine because it's to support a charity. It shouldn't all just be a bargain. As much as I would love it if it was. But their shipping costs are nuts. There were these sealed little sheets of stickers for Monster High, which my daughter loved and still kind of loves. And I thought, oh, that'd be a cool stocking stuffer. And I think the bidding was like $10 or something at the point. I don't know if there were even any bids on it. And I'm like, yeah, for a stocking stuffer, that's not bad. And frankly, even though they're kind of vintage, she could maybe peel a couple off and put them on her big water bottle that kids like, $15 for shipping. $15 for shipping. These are flat stickers about, I don't know, about maybe yay big, right? Each sheet. You could put them in between a couple pieces of cardboard in an envelope. My wife was saying probably should cost about $1 to ship. $15. Dude, my Goodwill, some of the Goodwill sellers, because it is, I think, the individual stores that do it, man, some of them are high. I can't tell you how many things that I've been real tempted on. And I look at the shipping price. And by the way, if you're on the site, you got to hit a button for shipping, hit a second button, you'll see the estimated shipping. Do that. Because some of those shipping prices are well beyond what you would think would be reasonable. So always check the shipping. But I do sometimes, and it's like, well, I'm not bidding on that. And I guess they're selling. Well, actually, some things you'll see pop back up a few times. They're not selling. It's like, get your shipping stuff figured out, guys, because they also charge a shipping and handling on each of them. Again, okay, it's supporting jobs for people. Okay, great, fine. But dude, I'm not just gonna not gonna get ripped off. Okay, I'd be more prone to just donate $100 to Goodwill than to spend $100 on something I should be spending $50 on. What can I say? That's 7 amens before sundown. This coming soon. Thunderbirds International Rescue Technical Operations Manual. Now, Jerry Anderson, I believe it's his son. I don't know what the little company product is called, but they have done these for Space 1999 and UFO. They're hardcover. They're sort of long, and they look absolutely gorgeous. And they're not mega cheap, but they also don't look like they're ripping you off. If you know what I mean. It's full color inside, sort of like, computer art, but it makes sense because it's technical, right? It's laying out what different rooms look like, the different spaceships, etc. I've been inches away from buying a few times, but again, they're not cheap, and I just don't have room on my bookshelves for stuff. And I'm going to be tempted again on this one because I love the Thunderbirds. Super Marionation. You can laugh. I get it. They look goofy sometimes, but at the same time, the attention to detail on the costumes, on the sets, the way these vehicles, the way they make them look, the sound effects, but also the storylines, the plots are really clever and really fun. And if you've never watched Thunderbirds, dude, get over oh my God, it's marionettes, and just like let it wash over you. Let Jerry Anderson marionettes just wash over you. Thunderbirds is so freaking excellent. I absolutely love it. There's a lot of other good ones too. Captain Scarlet's great. And surprisingly, I mean, well, go watch Captain Scarlet. You'll know what I'm talking about. And he sounds kind of like Cary Grant. But yeah, this just popped up. So I don't have it. I don't know what the pricing's going to be, although I would suspect it'll be the same as UFO and Space 1999. And maybe someday I'll buy more bookshelves and I'll buy these things. I don't know, but really cool. And if you're a big fan, it's something you probably want to check out or be on the lookout for. I'm sure more information's going to be coming soon on this. Last one up for new stuff that I've seen popped up. This is The Wiz Criterion Collection, June 10th. $40 for the 4K Blu-ray, 2 discs. The Wiz is a takeoff of The Wizard of Oz, but it is a 100% black cast, and it's set sort of like in this weird New York City. It is an amazingly weird movie. Got Michael Jackson playing the Scarecrow. That's where you get that ease on down the road. Talking about the Yellow Brick Road. It's just the imagery. You hear people talk about, usually younger than me, who went and saw, I think, Return to Oz, that movie. And there's stuff in there that was like nightmare fuel. You want some nightmare fuel. Oh wait, where am I pointing my finger? Over. There you go. The Wiz. Unbelievable. I watched it with my daughter. Oh my God. So it comes on, this is probably a decade ago. Comes on Black Entertainment Television, BET. And I'm like, dude, we should watch The Wiz. My daughter was into musicals and stuff like that. And I knew it was kind of crazy. Let's watch The Wiz. That'll be fun. Let's watch The Wiz. There were so many commercials that they turned this into something like a 3.5 hour movie. But at a certain point, I'm like, I've already devoted an hour of my life to this thing. I'm not going to quit now. I'm going to follow it all the way through. So help me God, there were commercials like every freaking 15, 20 minutes. And they were long commercial breaks. And I never watched another movie on BET for as long as I've lived. But I forced myself to get through it. And it was almost like, it was so weird. And it was like so frustrating that it was almost like Stockholm syndrome by the time you got to the end of it. You know, you almost liked the abuse. You craved it. But Sidney Lumet film, if you never watched it, dude, go watch The Wiz. If you like weird crap, go watch The Wiz. You know, and plus, look, decent music stuff too. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's odd. I don't think I'd say it's as good as the original Wizard of Oz, but in its own way, it's worth watching. You can go check out The Wiz. But if you love The Wiz, it's coming out on the Criterion Collection, 4K Blu-ray for $40 for a 2-disc set. You might want to check that out. Okay, new acquisitions from me or for me. I have had a few deliveries here recently as I reach way across, because I put stuff up high so I wouldn't knock it all over. I got a couple more of those Marvel Legends retro 3 and 3/4 inch figures. Why do I need these guys? Because I already got her. And obviously, look at me trying to, there we go, get them together. Spider-Man and his amazing friends. You know, as soon as I got the Firestar, I was like, you know you're going to have to get Spidey and Iceman now. Which, look, they made sure they had Spidey and Iceman. Well, I mean, Spidey, obviously. They're going to have that either way. But, yeah, so I think they knew that was going to be a good a good trio to get a hold of. Now, this one, I'm going to do a review on these next Saturday. And I got them just a day or two ago. It is the Super 7. Their Micronauts line. We got Biotron. We got Baron Karza. Great looking card art. And I am going to be decarding these babies on Saturday. Take a look at them. Now, the original Micronaut figures of these two were bigger than this size. These are sort of shrunk down. Although I think Karza still looks bigger, to me anyways, than a basic Micronaut figure would have been, such that I don't think he's like gonna, would like fit into the old vehicles or anything like that. But I'm really excited to see what they come up with for this line moving forward. And I think they look really good. But I'm hoping we'll get a blend of the Micronaut figures and maybe some of the characters as they were conceived in the comic book. I don't know. I don't know what their license really is, but that would be really cool. Also, and I don't think I showed this last time, McFarlane, Superpowers, the new wave. This is the Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick. And I'm going to do a review of this new wave. I didn't get the no, it wasn't Jason Todd. I think it was the, what's the other dude? Tim Drake. I think they did a Tim Drake Robin. I didn't get it because I got the old school Kenner Robin, and that's more what I'm interested in anyways. But they also have a Lobo and the Atom. So I got those. And for some reason, they are delayed. So we're not going to get those right away. Is the sound back? I think I might have hit the mute thing accidentally. I see better people at this than me do stupid crap like that too. So, okay. So now I need to maybe start over on Asphalt. I'll go a lot quicker. 1929 German film. It's like a film noir. This woman is trying to get out of being arrested by this young cop. And he kind of falls for it at first, but he stays pretty stern. They end up at her apartment because she wanted to get her identification. And that's kind of where it gets really interesting. Okay, good. So yes. Okay. So this is what made this interesting to me. Up to this point, it was fine. It was a nice little movie. It was great. So she's lying in bed in her bedroom. He walks in. He's like, "What are you? We're going to the police station. Where you're supposed to be getting your identification." "Well, I felt faint, so I laid down." She's clearly trying to seduce him, and he is having none of it. And she's making him angry. And he finally storms out of the bedroom and says, "Fine, the ambulance can take you to the police station." It's not working. She's freaking out. She runs out while he's like on the phone, pulls it out of his hand, and she's like forcibly trying now to kiss him and stuff. And he knocks her down. I mean, she's like grappling him. So you kind of get it. And you could tell he feels bad about it. He's really like, what the hell? He goes to the front door of the house, of the apartment, to try to get like out of there. She runs after him and jumps like on him. And she's holding him and, trying, like her face is right in his face, trying to kiss him. And he eventually, he gives in. And I'm watching this scene though. And I'm like, this looks like something from an 80s movie, like an 80s neo-noir. I can almost see like Sean Young in the role. I was like, 1929. And this looks like something from 60 years later. So it goes on with basically, she's trying to manipulate him. His innocence kind of has an impact on her. Very film noir-y though. He steps out of line and doesn't know what to do about it. And it really breaks him up. And she's kind of like, well, I got away with it, but it kind of messes her up too. Nice ending on it. So if you got some time, I think it was about an hour and a half. So not a super, super long movie. But if you're not averse to silent films, really cool. Some great shots. They do a lot of focus on her eyes because they were very expressive. And, but I liked it. I liked Asphalt. Sometimes it's worth watching a movie you know nothing about. Okay. Sometimes you're going to kind of suck or I don't care. But every once in a while, you're surprised with how good the movie really is. And it's also good to go outside your comfort zone every once in a while. And this is something that came up recently on X. People talking about hating reading The Great Gatsby in school, and I would have rather read books that I like, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, okay, I mean, like, I get that, but there are a few books that I genuinely love that I was forced to read in school and didn't want to read and knew I was going to hate them. And then I read them, and I'm like, wow, I really like that. Getting out of that comfort zone is good for you every once in a while. I've gotten books in old used bookstores, thrift stores, of just like, what the hell? Let's see what this is. Sometimes you find amazing stuff. Yes, sometimes it's something that you don't really dig, but get out of that comfort zone once in a while. You never know what you're going to find. It could really be cool. All right. I think that'll do it for this hour of blather. Part of it muted because I'm an idiot and I hit a button I shouldn't have hit. God help me. Coming up in Dad's Den this week, tomorrow, Justice League, number 11. I have a uncanny track record of being wrong about how videos are going to do on my channel. And Last year, I did Alpha Flight videos every Monday. This year, Justice League International. And I thought, I think the Justice League videos will probably actually do a lot better. And the Alpha Flight ones did pretty good. They did decent for me. But I'm going, I think Justice League is going to do better. They were funny. A lot of people really talk about it and love it. Gotta be honest with you, Alpha Flight's kicking Justice League's ass. So if you're a DC fan, if you're a Justice League fan, don't let your boys get whooped by those Canadians from Marvel. Come on, man, get out there and watch these videos. But genuinely, I do a review every Monday. We're going from issue number 1, issue 52 by the end of the year. We're just looking at how this series unfolded and, talking about the, the storylines and the characters, but also, kind of what went behind them and maybe some context of the time period. So you might enjoy those. That's on Monday. On Wednesday, I'm reviewing a film noir called Pushover with Fred McMurray and Kim Novak. It was Kim Novak's first real film that she got to do, where she, has lines and everything. And it's a pretty cool film noir. I like it. You might want to check that out. There's some great images in it too, but you might want to see that. Wednesday, that's Wednesday. Saturday, like I said, I'm going to be talking about, whoops, there went Biotron. I'm going to be talking about Baron Karza and Biotron, Super 7's new Micronauts line. We're going to take them off the cards and get a close look at these figures and see what they're all about. So that's Saturday. And then probably a live stream on Sunday. We will see what I come up with. So if maybe my wife is the only person who watched this live, because that's the only person I've seen in the chat, but that's cool. Even though she's like going, God, I have to listen to this man all day long. Do I have to? Oh, by the way, I got in trouble with her too, because I misspoke last time around about a Disney sing-along song she used to make us watch at the video store. I said there were more than one of the live-action sing-along songs. Apparently there was only one. Yeah, but we had to watch it every day, so I don't know how that makes it better. But at any rate, I got in trouble. But if you have watched, thank you for tuning in. If you watch this after it's live, thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, you might want to subscribe. I do all sorts of pop culture reviews, all sorts of different things. I just try to focus on stuff that I really love and share with people, and maybe you'll discover something that you never seen before, and you can go fall in love with it too. That's kind of the point of my channel, but thanks for tuning in. Thanks if you're a subscriber for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there, and I will see you again hopefully soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture.